Welcome back to the channel.
It's finally done. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Mike. I'm super glad to have you. So, before we get started with anything, let me introduce you to K2. All right, so I hope you guys really enjoyed that B-roll. So this build took about 4 months. I'm so glad it's over. It was really, really fun to build inside the Lian V3000 Plus GGF edition. There was a plethora of options. The engineers did an absolutely fantastic design in this case. One of the funnest cases I've ever built in, and let me tell you right now, one of the heaviest. Empty, I think this case weighs 70 plus pounds, and full of all this hardware back here, it's got to weigh at least over 100 pounds. I need 2 people to move it. So just a tidbit, if you're planning on buying this case and building inside it, when you finally put your build together, make sure you do it in its permanent home, or else you kind of need another person to move it around. This thing is absolutely extremely heavy. But the good news about it is it's so modular. The front panel comes off, the top comes off. You can take off the glass doors, and it definitely lightens the load, but the case is still extremely heavy. All right, so let's talk about some of the components inside of this beast. The fans. I have 12 Lian P28 fans, all in white. Now, these kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into this build. I did not realize that the Lian P28 fans, they're a little bit thicker than standard size 120 millimeter fans. So when I was screwing these down to the rads, the screws were too short that came with the radiators. Not that big of a deal. I just ran down to Home Depot and I just bought some longer screws. So keep that in mind if you're looking to buy the Lian P28 fans for your setup. Most likely the radiator screws are going to be too short because those fans are a tad thicker. All right, so let's talk about the radiators. So I went with the biggest and thickest radiators I could fit inside this beast. I went with Hardware Labs SR2 multi-ports in white. I absolutely love these radiators. I love them for one main reason. They work really, really well with low RPM fans. And as you guys all know, I like my builds to be quiet. Now, just a tidbit of information. The radiator in the front of K2 and the radiator in the bottom, they're super, super tight. The clearances underneath the case are very, very close. I actually had to use some offsets to be able to get the tube to connect to the front radiator. So if you're, going to be building in this case and you're going to be using the thickest radiators you can fit in this thing, just keep that in mind, especially if you're going to have the ports going, if you're going to have the ports from the front rad on the bottom and then the front ports from this radiator right here all the way to the right, know that the clearances are going to be pretty tight. All right, reservoirs. So I kind of went back and forth between EKWB and Aqua Tuning. So I finally settled on Aqua Tuning's Ulti tubes. I got 250 millimeter ones back here with their D5 pump combos. I really, really like these. They offer a lot of features. They have their smart displays down in the bottom, which you connect to one of Aqua Tuning's fan controllers, and then you could use their software, which is really intuitive, so I really like that. And I definitely want to make a video on that whole process. And another reason why I ended up going with Aqua Tuning over EKWB is because these are made out of glass. They're more scratch resistant, and frankly, I think they look a lot better. All right, so both of the blocks are from AlphaCool. I really love the Core 1 CPU block. It looks really, really good. And the GPU block also looks amazing. As you guys seen in my previous video, I was originally gonna go with a block from EKWB, but it came warped and I ended up going back and forth with them on a replacement, and that one came warped, and they kind of explained to me that they have, tolerances that, it can be warped to a certain, all that really didn't matter because, for me personally, I could notice it every single time I looked at it. So I ended up going with Alpha Cool, and I'm definitely happy with the decision that I made for the blocks. Now, the fittings. I went with 2 different brands for the fittings. It's not something I normally do. It's something that I had on hand, and it's just something that I had to use. So I went with Bitesky for a lot of the fittings that you can see here in the front. And then in the back of the case, I ended up going with Bits Power. Now they're all black. You can't really tell, and I think it really looks great. The tubing is from Bits Power. It is their carbon black, 14 millimeter outer diameter. I absolutely love that. I was originally thinking to go with glass tubes, but as I got more and more into this build, I decided that the carbon black Bits Power tubes were really the right way to go. All right, let's talk about some of the hardware inside this case. So usually for motherboards, I've always gone with Asus. They've been my go-to for the last 8 years. But with everything going on with them, I'm like, you know what? Let's go with an X670E Tai Chi from ASRock. And I absolutely love it. I think it looks great. I love the gold accents. I've had no issues with it. Everything booted up perfectly fine. And it's just been phenomenal. 0 issues. For the GPU, if you see my previous video, you would have known I went with the 7900 XTX. It's a nice upgrade for my 6800 XT that was in Megatron. I also went with Kingston Fury's RAM, DDR5. We're running that at 6800 megahertz. I got 2 Samsung 990 Pros. They work really, really well. I could have went with the Gen 5, but I really didn't see the need. But it's nice to know that I have the capabilities of upgrading that in the future. But all in all, I really like the components that was picked for this. I think everything flows really, really well. All right, custom cables. So I kind of went back and forth on what manufacturer that I wanted to use for this build. So I decided to go back to EnSource, the same company that I used for the Megatron build. And as no surprise to me, Joey over there did an absolutely phenomenal job. Kind of going back and forth with sizes with him on what I would need, because these cables here, some of them are over 30 inches long. I actually believe that these are probably the longest cables that Joey over there at EnSource has ever made. And I think they look absolutely fantastic as always. I can't recommend them enough. His shipping times are always super fast, and his turnaround times are absolutely great. These are made out of that more soft paracord material rather than that plastic. And again, every single time he absolutely knocks it out of the park. All right, so a few more things I'd like to mention. I decided to go with 1/8 gray plexiglass for this build. That was a little bit tricky because the back of this case isn't even all the way across. So I had to use some spacers on the right-hand side to make sure everything was gonna be nice and snug and tight, and it ended up working out great. I also went with some hex cap screws to secure everything down, and I gave myself a little bit of copper bronze paint just to kind of give it a little bit of depth. And in the rear of the case, I decided to put a rear piece of plexiglass there as well, just to go ahead and tie everything together. So the back of the case, I wanted it to be something special and look really, really clean, and I think it came out great. I was really thinking, I'm just gonna have the rear glass door on it, and I'm like, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's put a giant piece of that 1/8 plexiglass on the back, and I'll bring all the tubes out. It was a little bit of a challenge, trying to get all the holes right and, get the cables lined up. But, after some trial and error, I think it came out fantastic, and I really, really do love how the rear of this case looks. So Jackie, what do you think of K2?
I think I like the color a lot, and it looks good. I like the shape of it.
You like the shape of it?
Yeah.
Did you have fun drilling all the holes for the tubes?
Yes.
You did a great job. How do you think it performs when it comes to gaming?
I think I like gaming a lot, and I know a lot about gaming.
Do you think it plays Minecraft really, really well?
Yeah.
Do you think we get really high frame rates?
Yeah.
Are you excited about the next build?
Yes.
What color case do you think we should do for the next one?
Red.
Red? Like Ferrari red?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty exciting. So, we had fun. this was kind of a family adventure on this build. I mean, everybody pitched in. It's obviously good having a math teacher because there was a ton of measurements. So that's always an added bonus. So I guess that's it for this one, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah.
So what do you want to tell everybody? Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
No.